Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. I'll just give it about, maybe we give it 3-4 minutes before we get started, just to make sure we have we have more people on the call. You can see we have about 6 people on the call, and happy Independence Day as well. My fellow Nigerians, saying hello to you all. I'm also presuming we're going to have maybe we won't have a lot of people today. Knowing that it's Nigerians Independence Day, I know that yes, we have one more, so we have 6 people. So we'll see how the session goes, but regardless, we'll go ahead.
Hi Sam,
Hello, good evening.
Okay, so I can see that we're just very few here.
Yeah,
just 6 people. So we always have fewer students on Saturdays, but I think maybe we'll just wait a bit for
let's
more
see.
students to join. And I also send a message on Slack so they remember.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll jump in. Let me share my slides. Great. Let's get started. I hope you can hear me now, Elijah. Yeah, it's all good now. So we'll start the presentation. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all having a good evening. So we have 10 people on the call 9 now. Happy Independence Day to you all. It's an amazing day to sort of celebrate. Being a Saturday as well, amazing day to celebrate Nigerians' Independence Day. And I hope you've had a relaxing evening. This session, we'll try to keep it just over an hour. But at the same time, I would love, if you do have questions, I'll be looking at the chat, I'll be looking at the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We had a question from Wednesday, which I would cover. People were asking questions around what's the difference between what we will cover, which is a business case, and what's the difference between that and what we had sort of covered, like a business, almost like a market requirements document. So I'm going to spend some time on that, also just answering that question. I think the good thing about Saturday classes is my hope is it should generally be better than the Wednesday classes, because you get a better idea of what people want, what questions people are asking, what are some of the things that are not even clear that I can expand upon. So great, let's jump in. So we're still on the topic of market research, and this only shows how important the topic is, right? We've gone through really understanding product marketing, the intro to product marketing, what's the difference between product marketing and product management. We've covered essentially the introduction to research, market research, the importance of research, the different types of research as well, and how it really fits into the role of product marketing. Today, I'm going to expand on just key things around one, just identifying a target audience. If you're not selling to the right target audience, then it's easy to get everything wrong with your marketing. I'm also going to expand upon looking at some of the work that we will do around how to put together a business case, how to validate your hypothesis. So here's where we really start. It's so important that, market research is something that we should not underestimate. It gives your product its best chance of success by finding out what your customers want and adjusting your products accordingly. You gain a competitive edge in your market. When you look at that distinction between business to customers and business to business. You want to understand this distinction because you want to know selling in these two different segments is very different. On Wednesday, I used the example of an Instagram or a TikTok as a solution. If you compare that to maybe a SaaS company that is like a file, let's just say the likes of Dropbox, where you can save your files, the marketing, the approach to marketing will definitely be different. And here are some of the things I wanted you to understand. When it comes to the types of customer base in B2C, you're looking at a much larger customer opportunity. You're looking at individual decision makers. So it's that one user that makes a decision on whether to sign up to your software or not. That customer decides whether to buy your hardware product or not. But when it comes to B2B, it's different in that you have much more targeted customer base. The best B2B companies, they know exactly who they are looking to go after. they tend to take a very account-based marketing approach, where they go after specific accounts because these accounts meet their requirements. They meet the key type, the cost of the target customers that they're going after. Those are the ones that they focus on. So you can afford to be much more broader with B2C, but you cannot. It's harder to do that with B2B because you're going to be spending a lot of your marketing. You're spending a lot of marketing on customers that might not be relevant to your product. B2B as well, you tend to think about the different segments within your customer base. Are you looking at targeting businesses that are much more early stage, one-man or one-woman businesses? Are you looking at an early stage startup? They only have 10 people. They want to sort of improve the way they do things, bring in technology to improve their processes? Or are you looking at much more of a scale up? Let's just say they have about 250, a startup that has 250,000 people, 250 people within the company. And so they're looking to improve efficiency. And also with more people comes more decision makers. You would have the people that would actually use your solution. You might have the people the person that would sign off that solution and say, yes, let's buy it. Maybe it's the CEO of the company or the chief marketing officer or chief operating officer. You tend to have gatekeepers. How will you reach out to this company? You tend to, maybe it's a contact that you know, or you'd reach out to the company through the different means on LinkedIn. And so they tend to be that gatekeeping process that comes with B2B, and it makes it much more harder. And that's why you tend to be, companies take a sales-led approach when it comes to B2B. They have account managers, they have business development people that are able to go after the different target businesses or target customers. So moving on to the types of motivation, I mentioned that buyers tend to be more, decision making tends to be more emotionally driven with B2C. Someone raised a really good point on Wednesday, saying that does that mean B2B does not have anything to do with the buy, emotional decision? I think that all buying is emotion based to some level. You must like the product, you must like the person you're selling it to. It must mean something for you. It must be helping you to achieve a certain goal. It could be personal goal on the B2C side, different aspirations, or on the B2B side, it's helping you to improve your profitability, increase revenue, make processes easier, simplify how people work. So there's some level of motivation, but generally, when it comes to B2C, the approach the companies take to B2C tends to be one that they're trying to understand the different emotional triggers. Instagram, for instance, is trying to understand what are people's motivation beyond like sharing photos with their friends and family. What are they? How do they want to stay in touch with people? What are these? So the different triggers, you're more likely to listen to those triggers with B2C. With B2B, much more rational, just by nature, because companies want to understand, these target customers want to understand, what does this mean for us? How would this help us achieve X amount of revenue? How would this help us save X amount of time for our staff? So a specific decision. And due to the fact that there's so many, there tends to be more than one decision makers in signing off, whether they should adopt a solution. It means that you need to be very clear on your value proposition, what you're trying to what you're providing to these customers. In terms of timing, Generally, B2C is very fast paced. The buying process is fast. It means that customers quickly decide, well, this meets my need, I'll sign up. This meets my need, let me pay. With B2B, the cycle tends to be generally longer, depending on the solution, depending on the software, depending on the products more generally. I found that sales cycle could range. It could be anything from, it could be 2 weeks all the way to 12 months. So depending on the solution that you're selling. When it comes to drive, the fourth point here, I've seen product-driven innovation when it comes to B2C, and B2B is much more relationship-driven in terms of you're engaging with different people, you're trying to pitch different people, and so those are the distinctions. What does this mean for your market research now? It means that with B2C, you could have a larger pool of people to interview, to work with. You can actually step out of your house now, and you might find that a solution, a product that you've been thinking about, an idea you've been thinking about, you can find someone that you would interview and just ask them questions. What do you think of a solution such as X? What do you think would make it work? You can even ask family and friends. So B2C is generally much easier to conduct market research on, I found. B2B, on the other hand, is you're obviously working with target businesses that you're going to focus on. And within those businesses, you're then focusing on different individuals within the companies that you're aiming for. And so research gets easier when you're much more of a developed company, when you're developing much more. If you're an early stage, accept your position in an industry where you can speak to key individuals that would be your end target customers. Research tends to be somewhat slightly harder than B2C. It means that you need to understand the buying process. You need to understand the key motivations within each of as you research it. And I actually recommend people to build this into their market research. Asking end users on the B2B side, what's the process of selling to your company? People actually get an idea of, oh, there's an approval here, there's procurement here. Some will just say, listen, it's the CEO that signs up, decides, makes final decision on everything. And then you realize that that's the person you should be pitching to. Just giving you an idea. I'll stop there, see if there's any questions. Okay, there's no questions so far. Wow, the class has shoot up. I've seen we were 9, we're 21 now. So we're doing well. Anyways, just to get an idea, was anyone on this call here on Wednesday as well? If you're having a second look at this particular slides, which you would have seen, just to get an idea. Okay, it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like there were people from Wednesday. Okay, that's good. So I wasn't it. Okay, Stephen wasn't. Ola, I wasn't. No problem. The reason I asked that is I want to make sure that I'm able to. If majority were here on Wednesday, Cass, I see you said you was. Remember you actually. I know I wasn't there. Great. Just to get a quick idea. Good. Let's move on. Jane, I see your response as well. Right. Let's move on to, we've covered this essentially with our qualitative research. Looking at the distinction, qualitative research tends to be the study of kind of non-numerical of data, the types. You're covering data points and you're really trying to prove a specific hypothesis. You're trying to answer a specific question. Researchers tend to really use qualitative data The question style tends to be open-ended to prevent any form of bias, and it comes in the form of one-to-one interviews, group interviews, focus groups, surveys. Quantitative, on the other hand, as you see, is a more numerical focused. Researchers tend to gather quantitative feedback. Questions tend to be closed. You're looking for a yes or no, true or false. You're looking for a number of from the time where you're looking at trying to understand what's going on within a customer, within your target customers. I tend to see that qualitative either validates the work that you're doing with quantitative or vice versa. The other thing that you find is that the market researchers tend to use qualitative and quantitative. There isn't any, it really helps balance out each other. Some of their strengths and weaknesses balances out when you use both. Let's jump into identifying your target audience. Really when it comes to determining target audience for particularly a new product or service, it tends to not be straightforward. It requires research, it requires brainstorming, and it's a step that really can't be missed within research. So identifying target audience fits in under this topic of research. I know there was a question in the Slack group around that. Yeah, so it's part of the process. It's part of understanding your customers, market research. What fits in is really that customers, your company, your competitor, the context at which you're operating as well. So I put in the 5 C's on Slack just to give you an idea of some of the things that you need to research as you try to understand a customer type. So the first thing is really understanding a need, and that really, as we touch on it, as I said, yeah, if a product does not answer a need or a problem, no one would take interest in the feature. So regardless of how unique your product is, how unique some of the features and attributes are. This means that identifying a target audience really requires you to determine the pain the product or services is solving. And that's a focus on identifying the need. Then when you can sort of narrow it down by outlining the different product features, it's key to know. You can then find out, okay, here is the feature of the product that we have in mind that we're going to put forward. And from there, you'll be like, okay, what need are these features actually solving? At this point, you might not have identified the target audience. You might have some idea who your target audience is. But I always say start with a problem, start with a need. And that's the basis of your work. The second point is now building on demographics. People mentioned, someone asked in Wednesday class, they asked if psychographics is part of this. Yes, you can add this to psychographics. Is certainly something that you should be looking out for. One thing to note is that we're going to cover the topic on personas. Personas is much more deeper. You're understanding demographics, psychographics, you're understanding the detail of your customers. So see target audience as a broad base of your customers. Within your target audience, we would then identify that specific individual. We would even give that customer a name and specific characteristics, how they use their solution, the problems you're solving for them. So we would cover that, but more generally here, you can focus on really drawing out a demographic portrait of your target audience here, and I'll talk about how it looks, how it could look like. So here you're focusing on attributes. You're looking at the approach I tend to take here is that I look at the people that would be the companies that would be my potential competitors, and I would want to understand who are they targeting. What are some of their, it could be on social media, looking at some of their social media channels, and this would really help you identify characteristics of your potential buyers, but also it would help you understand things around user behavior, interest. It could be company size, skill sets, things like that. The next step, point 3, is then conducting customer surveys. At this point, it's essential that you find out some level of detail by casting out. I could say that you can cast out a fairly broad net in terms of understanding what people think. You can use solutions such as Google Form, which is a free survey tool. This will help you identify some of the key attributes. And if you use a mix of qualitative and quantitative questions, you would find out more about these customers as you go along. And that would then help you to jump into point 4, where you'll be able to say, well, we have 30 surveys back from the people that we reached out to. Who should we focus on? What types of customers should we focus on out of this 30? What are some of the things that we learned about the product? What are some of the things they don't like, they would love to see from this product? What are the things that we could learn about what's on the market? What other products are on the market? And how can we go above and beyond and improve on what's on the market? The fifth thing is really seeing that, researching your competitors. I had a question on Wednesday. Someone asked me a question on Wednesday around why is researching competitors, why does it have to come at step 5? I think that I've included it here so that it's not a step that we miss. I think at every stage of your research process, you should be competitor alert. I don't think you should be competitor obsessed, but you should always be competitor alert. And product marketing, because there's so much that could be happening in the market, you want to understand where you stand against your competitors. What are some of the things they're doing? What are some of the partnerships that they have in place? And so it's key to research your competitors. You could be looking at, depending on how big your market is, you could be looking at 15 to 20 people, 20 companies, sorry, how they fit. And if you have much more of a smaller market, you just want to understand who are the people you'll be going against. And finally, before I then look at if there are any thoughts or questions or comments, you perform a market mapping. Market mapping is a visual tool that helps you to see where your competitors are operating in the market. And there are different ways at which you, this is an error slide. So in terms of, so here's the market map. A lot of market mapping, you see people place a Y and X axis, and they use cost versus quality, quality versus cost. It depends on what's important in your market. If in the market you're going after, you believe that speed is what's key, speed of delivery of a solution, you need to plot that and understand what's the speed or the quality of delivery. That could be certainly something that you're looking at. But more generally, cost is always a factor that you should never ignore. We're going to cover a whole module on pricing, which I'm excited about, and I would provide just different exciting approach to to pricing your solution, and then how to get the most out of your customers from your pricing. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Let me stop there. Okay, see if there is yeah. So Stephen, let me answer your question on what is psychographics. So it has to do with opinions. Sometimes you get religious beliefs. So it's just like it's more than just your male, your specific age. Psychographics tends to go into details that helps you to segment some customer base, right? So if you have an app that is targeted at different customer group or with different views, psychographics research is and understanding your psychographics is always key. So that's just to answer your question. Sandra, what are the demographics factors to build on? Well, I think certainly you could be looking at age and sex tends to be a very sort of common one, you know, and sometimes you're actually looking at there's some research that you're targeting a specific race, right? I'm thinking of maybe a dating app for singles in a particular country, and so by nature you've narrowed down to a specific customer base, right? I know of an app here in the UK, developed by a friend, that it's focusing on dating blacks in the UK, and so you're not, in putting out your research, you're not just going to cast out a broad net to anyone and anyone. You're then looking at, okay, who are the people you would be obviously speaking to would be Black people in the UK. So there are many other sort of factors, but the most important ones are just narrowing down on those key. I hope that answers the question. I would stop there. Okay, actually, I see there's some in the Q&A. Okay, what's psychographics? Okay, so I've touched on that. Great. Let me see. Are there any other questions at this point? Right. Okay. None. So I think once we've covered our market research, what I would love to do is for us to then focus on a case. I'll be giving you a case assignment where I would want you to go away and do some research. Maybe we would focus on more competitive intelligence, so understanding who are the direct competitors we should be looking at within a particular product. And I would love you to either really go at this as an individual, or depending on how complex the task is, I would love it to be within a group. I'll provide more details on this, but I want to see how this shapes up in terms of our understanding shapes up of market research. The other thing I want to do is that in November we're going to have some revision sessions before exams, and because market research covers a number of weeks, it could be next week. I would want us to do a very quick revision and maybe a summary session, so that everything that we've touched on, I know that you've had, I'm your kind of second tutor as well, and so I would be bringing in a summary of what Odiri has taught, Mr. Odiri has taught, and myself, and we would then have that. So I'm telling you now, and I would also mention next week, like, try not to miss. I'll put it in the Slack group. Do not miss some of the sessions that we have. Maybe next week's one, where we'll be doing a summary of everything we've picked up so far, and also maybe a quick quiz. It could be a Kahoot quiz, so that we can solidify our understanding of market research. It's really, as I said, it's the foundation of a lot of what we'll be doing in product marketing. I don't know. Does anyone have questions on that? Oh, you need more clarity on market mapping. I'll go back to that. Let me cover. So what you find with market mapping, everything that you see here in terms of your brands are your let's say your competitors, the companies that you're focusing, that you're going to be competing in your market, right? A lot of where you get the information on these companies are your desk research. You're able to get a good grasp on what do they sell their solution, how much does it cost, what is the level of quality, is this very high quality product? And so if you have, I'll give you an example. If you have in terms of like a much more expensive product in the product you're targeting, you're then moving towards this point, right? You're looking at this point here. If you have a solution that has a very high quality and it's also very expensive, you're looking at operating around this range. So this is where I'll place a competitor that has a high quality, but their solution is very high in terms of like the cost of their solution. If we have a new player that is targeting the bottom of the base of the custom of our industry, and let's just say they have a solution that is cheap. It's not the best product, but it's cheap and it does the basics. What you do is that you come to the bottom of this screen here, right? So maybe we should use an example that might resonate with you all. Maybe we should use a market for maybe video calls or team calls. I don't know where we would place Zoom. Zoom could be a solution that is actually fairly, maybe it's a solution that is it's relatively okay in terms of cost. And the quality, maybe the quality is where brand 3 is here. If you then have a solution that is much more better in terms of like features, you can, you say, okay, if you feel like the solution is slightly better than Zoom in terms of the quality of the video, you'd move it up. If it's much more expensive or cheaper, if it's cheaper, we then move it. So it's obviously if you had two people do a specific task, market mapping task, it would be based on your interpretation. But what market mapping is useful for is that you want to be able to identify where your competitors are most crowded, and for new entrants or new companies that are trying to disrupt a space, you then get to understand where is the gap in the market. If you look at Uber, for instance, if you're looking at taxi drivers, you can say, well, what they've done is that the cost in some cases, let's just say maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, the costs were somewhere high, but the quality was fairly low, right? So if you understand, you're then looking at, okay, low cost, high cost, low quality for taxis. When Uber came in, what did they do? They try to improve the experience, your experience, but they try to make sure that either cost stayed the same, or in some cases, I'm talking about earlier, not now. Some cases were slightly cheaper, right? So you then look at other alternatives. You're looking at maybe motorcycles. You throughout this, you see the different quality, different experience, different costs. Once you have a data, once you have a tangible data on your cost and quality and experience or speed, you're then able to plot a graph and identify, okay, where's the best place that we can play here? Clearly there isn't a product that is sort of low cost, high quality. Most markets, this tends to be somewhat empty, because to deliver a high quality product, except you have an innovation that can really disrupt an industry, you don't get to get much cheaper and much higher in terms of quality. And that's where a lot of disruption happens. I hope that's much more clearer. If not, do feel free to ask specific questions. I can, what's not clear about market mapping, and then I can focus more on that. Great. And if you have any questions, specific questions as well, that you feel like, okay, I didn't touch on, I could have spent more time on beyond the class. If you're not satisfied, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer your questions on the Slack group so that it helps other people as well. If you have a question you feel like it relates to the work that you're working on now, and you'd rather have maybe a one-to-one session, we can put 10-15 minutes on the calendar, and I'll be happy to answer a question on a call. Great. I've seen some feedback from you about it. Oh, my slides have danced. Okay, they're still here. Right. So the second part, in terms of our second 45 minutes, we'll be looking at building a business case. What does that look like? We had a question on Wednesday around what is the difference between business case and like business market requirement document. In many people use it interchange it, but from what I've generally seen is that business case is usually, it's more about examining a potential market opportunity on a product level. So you're looking at it on a specific product you're trying to launch. And then when it comes to MRD is more of a description of your market opportunity, or market problem, and also the resulting requirements from the resulting market requirements. Both of these documents are different, but they are in some cases used interchangeably. In some cases, you merge some of the features from business cases and an MDR to make it a much more, broader, much more tangible document. But that's the key distinction. In both cases, you're trying to understand these. You're noting down your current problem, your market segmentation. But yeah, I hope that touches on that clears that distinction. I would have loved to cover it both, right? At the same time. But as you see, whilst it's different, you can say, well, I can pull some of the features that are missing, that are missing from MRD, and bring it into business case so that I could provide my stakeholders with much more information. So depending on how you feel like it's best to do this. Yeah. Let's see. All right, let's jump into our the structures, right? I think when it comes to the executive, generally the executive summary, it would be a snapshot of the document. You want to be able to cover how the document looks like. Actually, what I could share with you is I shared an example with everyone. Maybe we might go through that actually and just see how the document would look like. I'm not sure if you all can see this clearly. I might yeah, perfect. I think that's much clearer. So what you want is starting the document, the executive summary with starting your business case with a brief synopsis of what the document will be about. It should clearly articulate, why you're essentially define the why behind your case. I tend to keep it at least 8 to 10 lines, just to like summarize your points. Then you jump into market segmentation. What you have here is you clearly define your market segment, including everything around market sizing. What's the population, the customers that you're potentially looking at? What's that size? You could be looking at it from a revenue standpoint. Their research, depending on what industry you're looking at, you can find some free research on how you go about doing this, how you go about finding, the size of your market. If you'd love us to do a quick approach to market sizing, we can schedule that. We could actually have an opportunity to do that in our persona when we cover personas, how to go about sizing your market. Within this, you can then include some of the data around your demographics, your geographics, psychographics, behavior of your customers. It's useful here. Think about this document as something that you also present to bosses or your colleagues or your co-founders or business partners or potential investors to say, listen, here is what we're trying to do. I don't think this should replace a pitch deck. But if you would need some of the written materials around understanding the size of your markets and your market segmentation. What I've seen with early stage startups that I've worked with is that they use a document like a business case to inform what they include in their slides and some of their pitch and proposals. Now we jump into the problems, the current problems we solve. Some of the things you're looking at, it's what it says on the tin, really. The problems that you're trying to solve should be clearly articulated. And this could be either a gap that no one's filling. If you look at the market mapping, for instance, we are looking at areas where we're like, okay, do we have a solution that is doing both this and this, that is fast, but it's cheap? And what are the things we can do to make our solutions, cheaper than the competitors? And so this is where in your problem, you can articulate. Uber was really trying to solve for experience. They wanted to improve all around the world. They wanted to improve the experience. They wanted to increase the transparency of cost. And now anywhere in the world, a lot of countries where Uber, Taxify, others are active in, you're able to know they have much more transparency in terms of how much you're being charged for for your solution, for your ride. Sorry, in that case. In here, I've got tips on what you should, how you should go about putting together the current problems, and so you can cover that in your free time. The opportunities on offer is the next section here, where, as I've noted here, you need to know how you'll be addressing the problem you've listed, benefit for your business. And so clearly, an example I've given here is that first thing that you're trying to do is to reduce customer churn. If reducing customer churn is a problem, is really the opportunity here. You would say, well, at the moment we lose X amount of customers per quarter, which translates to this Naira dollars. 58% of that customer said they left because we didn't offer feature X, just like our competitors are doing. So we were introducing this feature, and it would help us retain customers. And so this is almost saying, here's the problem, which we've covered. The opportunity is like, here is what we could do if we launched this solution or we launched this feature. Yeah. When it comes to competitive summary, or you're trying to understand the market trends, you're trying to understand the drivers of growth in the market, you can make use of sort of a number of framework. You could look up the Pestle framework is an example of one you could look at. Within this competitive summary, you're trying to understand what are some of the competitive alternatives, who are your direct competitors, who are your indirect competitors, and what markets are they targeting, right? So a lot of this feeds into the work that you do around your market mapping and competitive intelligence work, which we've already covered. Really, you cover your finances, looking at revenue models. We look at our cost breakdown. We're going to, as I said, we're going to look at a module on pricing, but it's in understanding your revenue model, you want to know what value are you giving to the market. We've included a link here looking at some of the more popular types of approach in terms of revenue model. It tends to be, the link isn't working for some reason. Anyways, it was working last time. Clearing my cookies. So anyway, I hope you can get access to it. If not, let me know. You see the most common revenue models in the industry that still works, and this helps you to really get some validation right from your market. Cost breakdown. This is to show, here is how much you're forecasting for this feature, for this product, for this project, and you see an example here. It says the total forecasted cost for this project is $35,000. $25,000 of this will be spent on outsourcing the building of the feature to a third-party agency. So I'm assuming this company does not have either the resources in-house or the time in-house to get it done. And it says here $5,000 will be used to license the new software. The remaining $5,000 will be used to put behind sort of marketing tactics, so PPC, paid social promotion, guest posts, things of that nature. Yeah. And then you jump into the requirements. You need to state what are some of the demands that you have from internal and external teams. It's clear to say that business case could be a document that's much more focused to more established companies that has a number of people operating the different reporting lines. But what you're able to get here is that you're able to state what are some of the external teams or internal teams that you would need. How long would you need them for to help you execute on this project, the feature, project? Articulate your timeline. How long will it take to execute this? If you're launching a feature, you want to understand, okay, how long will that take? And what are some of the different steps? Really high level launch, product launch should be included here. You don't have to give a lot of details, but it's just good to let them know, let the key approvals or key stakeholders that you'll be working with know. The risk assessment here, you want to know, where the risks lie, what would stop you from executing on this. And when you do the risk assessments well, it shouldn't actually be it shouldn't be something that would get your stakeholders to think. I think you state the risk assessment and then your risk, and then you go about discussing how or articulating how you're going to mitigate it. So yeah, if it's a resource problem, you could say, well, we end up outsourcing, or we would extend the timeline. We would use a time where the teams are less busy. If there's a current launch going on, it might not be the best time to launch something else that you're looking to work on. And so make sure that you're able to time it well is key. The alternatives. So cover up the alternative options available to achieve the same outcome, and briefly outline the benefits, the cost, the feasibility, risk, and issue associated with each. So what we have here is, you might be asking, how is this different from the competitive or alternatives that we're looking to cover here? So the competitive summary. You're actually looking at things like option one would be launching a feature. You talk about the benefits, the cost, and the risks of doing this. Option two could then be partnerships. So we could partner with another company and what's the benefit of that? Is it the benefit could be that it won't be as time consuming as launching our own feature. The cost would be, I guess, the cost would be like, or the risk here would be, it's not. I guess it's one. It's out of our control as a company, so that we can't just say, well, we would need it to be tailored a specific way. We need it. So that's some of the cost and risk involved. But it's always good to give an example so that the people that are approving this, they're able to think through that you've thought about not just this option, but the alternatives as well. I'll stop there. Oh, great, Samuel, thanks for sharing the document. I actually included the slides as well in the Slack group, I think on Friday or yesterday. But yeah, thank you for sharing it, and also for sharing the link to the revenue as well. Appreciate it. Cool. Let's stop there and see what people are saying in terms of questions. Slide. My slides are playing up for some reason. Let me try to get it back. Ah, yes, I've got it back. Yep. Yep, I hope you can all see it now. No. Yep. So yeah, we'll stop there and see if you have any questions. I think more broadly, I would want us to also get, if you have questions more generally on market research, obviously we will cover a summary. We'll do a summary class. We'd also do a quiz. I would love to kind of get your, I'd love to make sure that you're up to speed with the knowledge for market research. I think in product marketing, it's very often that we're launching something new, and so we need someone to go ahead and go and do the research. And in many cases, it fits on the product marketing. It's product marketing owns the delivery for much more exploratory research that we have. Yeah. So yeah, any questions? Anything that you feel like maybe we have not touched? Anything that might be confusing, that you feel like, okay, maybe we need to focus more on this. The other thing I've been thinking about is I want us to focus on live cases. In future classes, I would love us to look at a company, and I might actually reach out to a few companies and say, listen, we have this product marketing class, and as a group, we can help solve a product marketing question. And it would be in a form of an assignment where you either work with groups or go solo, work as an individual. And we'll be able to tackle it. So I would want us to do that, so that we're just not, there's nothing wrong with a case study. We're doing a case study, but I wonder if there's something that can connect to a market where they actually need our solution, and then we can be the product marketing consultant to help them to address this. Seems like there's no questions from people. I assume that it's much I've touched on. Okay, I've seen. Yeah, Adams, I've seen, yeah, your points around, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'd love to see that happen. Yeah, I've got a few ideas on how we can make this much more dynamic. Some of you are already working in product marketing. I'd love you to, do reach out to me. I'd love to find out more and see how we can bring you in and share some of your experiences as well, as to how we can, maybe there's a specific problem that tends to come up with market research or with a go-to-market. The next module we'll be covering will be our go-to-market plans and strategy. And then it would be good to, we would focus on how can we launch a product? How can we take a product to market? What's the strategy behind that? So that's going to be a fun class. Faith, could you please explain more on the alternatives example? I had a bit of network issues. Okay, and couldn't clearly hear anything. Okay, no problem. me jump back to it. So with the alternatives example, what I was trying to articulate was that you should always compare the potential solution that you have. It should be compared with potential options. So in some cases, I've seen a lot of like partnerships as an alternative, right? Rather than launching a product, why don't we go ahead and partner with another company that is already doing what we're looking to launch, is doing it well. Obviously, there are benefits to that. Your time to market is much quicker. The cost would be that it could actually have, the cost could be in terms of experience. I've found that if you don't own the product and you suddenly have a glitch in their system, your customers are unhappy, and it hasn't. Do you know what I mean? So you need to factor in things like, okay, what would this mean for us to not be able to control the solution internally? If we had an in-house developer that's working on this particular solution, we can say, well, this problem is the customer is struggling with this. Could you please fix this? Could you jump on a call with them? It's much more, it's often trickier with partnerships to do that. Yeah, so that's the alternatives that I tend to see. There's obviously the cost of not doing anything as well. But the alternatives I've seen in terms of putting together business cases is, yeah. Sometimes it's alternatives also is when you're looking at bringing on a software into the company, for instance, right? You're looking at the different competitors, the different companies that you could be partnering with. So including that, the different companies you'd be partnering with in your alternatives is also an option as well. Yeah. So to briefly summarize, alternatives is looking at going beyond what you're looking to launch. It could be a project, it could be a feature, it could be a product, and looking at the alternatives. It could be partners that you can partner with rather than launching your solution, and then articulating what is the benefit, what's the cost, what's the risk of the solution we're thinking about, but also the solutions that we're thinking about in terms of other alternatives. I hope that's Faith. I hope that's clear. If not, let me know so that I'll cover any specific points. Right. Any other questions? Let's see. See no other questions. The Q&A done. Cool. Looks like we're all good. Great. Well, have I missed anything? Let me know if I haven't. So if I've not answered your question, please raise up your hand or give me some sort of a sign. I want to make sure that we have some satisfaction on the call. Good. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, we're good. Great. So thank you all. I hope that makes sense to you. I think once we step out, once we start covering, I'm excited. Now we're nearly done with market research, which is great. But I feel like it's the foundation of product marketing. You're going to need it at every single point with this product marketing course. but we would then get into much more tactical things that we can do, from developing personas to putting together pricing. We'll be working on pricing for a product, from putting together a go-to-market strategy for a product. So I'd love to. I'm looking forward to covering that with you all. Hope you have a blessed evening. Stay rested. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Weekend tends to go quickly, huh? But yeah, hope you have a blessed one. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the Independence Day that's left with your family and friends. Take care. Bye, everyone.